Hey everybody, it's Scott again. So thank you for joining me on my video. You're really welcome. I wanted to talk a little bit about, seems to be a topic that a lot of people in the New Age community are talking about, is about Doreen Virtue. If you aren't familiar with Doreen Virtue is an author, speaker, educator with Hay House. It's a publishing company. And Doreen Virtue is very famous for kind of coining the term and using it a lot more of the indigo children term. She then really got into working with angels, and so she has lots of books on angels and working with angels, angels and healing. Um, I have taken 3 courses from Doreen. I took the Certified Angel Card Reader course from her, also the Certified Assertiveness Coach course, and the Angels of Abundance course with her and her son Grant Virtue. Those 3 courses were awesome, and really, thankfully, I think that they kind of just solidified with my belief system and with angels and abundance and as well as this whole attitude of like coaching towards assertiveness rather than feeling victimized and victimhood inside us and realizing that we can allow abundance to come to us. So it was great. Those courses were great to me. If you aren't familiar with what happened with Doreen Virtue, I think this was happening with her, and she was starting to go down a path where she's always identified as a Christian, but she's been very new agey in this whole new age paradigm, and she's released tarot deck after tarot deck and oracle card after oracle card. I have myself 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 8 of her oracle decks and tarot cards after like taking her coursework. And so back when she was first releasing it, she gave a lot of free decks to people who were their first one. So and I love almost all of them. There's one that it's okay. The Romance Oracle, Angel's Romance Oracle. It's a little too Harlequin for me. I start singing that Bad Romance song by Lady Gaga. I do it pretty well at karaoke, but I don't think people want to hear me sing that every time I give a reading from it, so I might trade it away. But anyway, Doreen was sorry, side note. Um, Doreen then became baptized, had an experience. Maybe it was a near-death experience. She became baptized and has kind of had this similar born-again kind of experience. And now she released some videos, some you can find, some you can't, where she kind of denounced tarot. She wants to have her name taken off of the cards. So in future publications of some of the cards, they'll just have Radley Valentine or Grant Virtue or Melissa Virtue or the Dreams Oracle. So her name will be taken off. And so she's kind of denounced a lot of this because of like verses in the Bible in Deuteronomy, Leviticus that deal with, not being a divinator. And she feels like she has to be obedient to that. So, very interesting thing, and I think a lot of people in the New Age community who really love Doreen, and she was the greatest voice for them to kind of give voice to their beliefs, give voice to who they were as people, that they were okay believing in fairies, believing in angels, having experiences like this. She really crossed boundaries. She didn't care if you were Christian, pagan, whatever. This kind of denouncing from Doreen kind of was a trigger for some folks. And, and I've even seen some videos where people can be very respectful. This is her spiritual journey, which it is. And I mean, I've had a spiritual journey too that brought me full circle. But it's very interesting. One person I watched on YouTube, it said the one thing that was missing from her announcement was an acknowledgement or a thank you, gratitude. I'm so grateful to have the experience with all of you. And to kind of put that out there to say, I'm on my journey and I really hope you have a journey no matter what that is. She didn't say those words. She didn't, I mean, and it's her right to like have her video however she wants. So, this was her way of doing things, but there wasn't that exuding mother-like I want you all to know that I still love you so much, kind of thing, which I think still hurt people. And when you do have a transition and a journey, and you come out another side and um, you change, I think that's important. That's an important conversation to have with people. I still value all of the training that I got from Doreen and Radley Valentine. I watch Radley's videos all the time still. And I still value all of my decks, the Angel Tarot cards, the Indigo Angel, of course, especially. I even have the Loving Words from Jesus Oracle, which I look at from time to time. It's just very relationship with Jesus, and that is what it does. It doesn't proselytize, it doesn't judge, it doesn't, give you all those triggers that some people have with Christianity. So it's just Jesus' words, and here's Jesus the person. So I think a lot of people can identify with that. So, and whatever journey people are on is their own journey. So even as a Christian myself, I acknowledge that. I was like, my best friend is an atheist, as atheist as you come. And I still love him. And he still respects me, and we have a great friendship. And I don't even get offended when we just joke with each other, and he says, "Oh, you have an imaginary friend," and I said, "Well, you have no afterlife," or something like that. It's so funny, and we can have these kinds of conversations. And in some ways, he is more spiritual than many Christians that I know, so I give him that acknowledgement a lot. So, and it's this trust that you build, even no matter your spiritual path. And I think especially for Christians, if you call yourself a Christian, you better act like the Christ you believe in, and love, the whole saying of like, you know, God sending his son to not to judge the world, but to love the world or save the world. And, it just gets me. So I think a lot of people were triggered by Doreen's like, "Hi, I'm born again, and here's what's going on with me. I'm denouncing the tarot," and It reminds me of like stories I was growing up. When people were into Dungeons and Dragons and they realized they were Christian, and they had to burn their Dungeons and Dragons books immediately. It doesn't seem like, you know, it's not necessarily a rational step. I'll give Doreen, she's an adult. She can have her experience. I didn't have her experience, and her experience is unique to her. And so I can respect it, and I still love Doreen, still love her teachings. I still value the teachings she did before, and all of that was because it kind of reflected something that was in me. It wasn't because it's Doreen Virtue, but it was because those things resonated in me. This whole indigo idea completely resonated in me, and it still does. So I'm not going to give up my card deck for that. This was put together. That was an energy that was put into our consciousness, and that was the time. So what if she decides to leave it behind? I have this deck from Cheska Potter that I just love, the Greenwood Tarot. Upside down. It's one of the most rarest decks you can find. And I have two, actually. So it's kind of fun. One that I keep in the box and I store, and one that I read from. So, but I think there's notions that Cheska Potter went through the same thing. And I think before that, in like the early 2000s, I was a little annoyed with that. But then I got them back, and these cards just speak to me. And maybe because I did have my own kind of journey, getting into Druidry and the pagan aspects of Druidry, and really enjoying that and loving that path. There were some differences that I had in different Druid groups, but that was my path, my origin. I respect everyone. I love everyone that I've met along the way. There's one group that I strongly disagree with, but that's okay. I won't get into that. I won't name names. But, then kind of going and rediscovering some of the Christian roots just that I grew up with. finding out about the ancestor I have, and that comes from Ireland and the Isle of Iona and all of that stuff that really centered my Celtic ancestry and Celtic beliefs, and I wanted to really dig into that, and I've like learned, wow, I can coexist. I can walk between these worlds. And really, Jesus walked between those worlds. Can you imagine what he had to go through? Let's just think of him as a person. And if that was a belief system, it was something radically new. He walked between the worlds. He loved people. He had a sight. He had a vision. And you know, whether you believe in it or not, that's up to you. Um, it's not up to me to get you to believe. Those are things that you have to determine yourself. Your relationships that you make to spirit, to deities, or to your own spiritual path, they come from you. So with I read from these decks from people who have made beautiful, beautiful things, and they've maybe denounced them, or they have gone on to a different path. The energy that they put into that is still here for me, and I still take it, even though I'm on a path too. So I came back around. I identify as Christian, but I'll tell you more. I'm more comfortable going to a Unitarian church or my parents' hometown church than I am to going to many churches. So it's about the relationship, and it's about the content, and it's about love for me. It's about community, about feeling welcome and making people feel welcome first before you expound about, this is what the Bible says. Let people discover this on their own. Let them discover this on their way. You can talk about them if they're interested, but if they're interested, fine. But make them your friend first, no matter what. If you want to be someone's friend, you be their friend. I think a lot of people felt that Doreen was kind of a friend. We do this with celebrity. We do this with guru. So maybe you felt like you were a little more attached to her as a friend or a mother figure. I'll tell you that a lot of people fall short. It's just kind of the fact. I'll fall short with people. I've fallen short in relationships. I've fallen short in friendships. And when people fall short for you, sometimes that's hard. And hopefully we can learn from that, move forward. Feel what we're feeling, surrender to the feeling, move forward, and eventually maybe we can get to a point where we can forgive and let go and say, this is a great learning experience. This is a great experience that happened. I think also that where we are in the world, where we are, maybe even cosmically, there is this energy of expectancy and this energy that's pulling people to want to align. And you'll see it in politics. There's such polarization going on too. So it makes it, somebody like me is pretty rare who can just sort of walk between. I have friends who are from all different sides of the political spectrum too, and I embrace them and I talk with them, and maybe we don't agree on everything, but that's okay. We're friends, we're neighbors. Maybe it was me growing up in a small town in Iowa where you had neighbors, and yeah, you didn't necessarily talk about politics if you disagreed, but they were going to have to shovel you out of snow that was 3 feet deep, and you were going to have to do the same for them. Or they'd have to bring you over, any sort of casserole or food when, a family member was in the hospital, and you would do that for them. Just that kind of idea. And I do believe that that's a very evolved kind of spirituality, just to be able to look beyond a difference, look beyond these polarizations that we have, and still just love people, love them. So those things come from us, and those things come from sort of like a source, or whatever you believe in, that gives you a spiritual guidance. And I hope that just comes from love a force within that that shows you that you don't have to be at odds with someone to, even like if they disagree or if they've hurt you. It's tough when you get hurt. It's really tough. But feel it. Feel it, embrace it, move forward, learn from it, become a better person. And don't get into, one of the cards that I have that's just right here on my desk. Surrender the drama. You don't need to be involved in a drama. You know, just surrender that drama. No matter how emotionally charged the situation, remain calm and don't contribute to the drama. That's what that card says. So, and I just want to tell everybody out there, who kind of followed me in the early days. I have a page on my website called Druidic Reconciliation. I think it's underneath the About Me on northerndruid.net. And I really do hope that we can start reconciling with each other. I want that energy to come through. Some places that's happening, and I think that's awesome. If we can just start reconciling with people, move forward. Yeah, we don't have to agree, and maybe we've had feuds and we've disagreed for a long, long time. But to be able to say, if I've hurt you in the past, I really sincerely apologize, because that's not how I see you in my heart. So those are the words I think a lot of people were searching for Doreen to say. That whole reconciling. And I just want to say that too to the people who followed me when I was like in my more Unitarian, pagan kind of path, and I was really involved in some Druidic communities, and I kind of left for a while. And I apologize if that made you feel like I was abandoning you. I really am sorry. I was on a journey and it had nothing to do with all of you. It was all just me. I still care about a lot of you, and I'm kind of excited to be back exploring things, because me going on this journey has really intensified so many parts of me spiritually, and I had no intention of hurting anyone, and if I've hurt anyone, I apologize, and I hold you in my heart with great, great feelings, and know that I went on a journey, so I was, I went to I still listen to the pastor of this church, but, it was, I think that they were more on the conservative side of church going things, but then also very, seeker oriented and very, we want to just be espousing love, but, it's kind of a Baptist kind of church. I don't go there anymore. I moved, so, but I still watch videos online from them, get inspired. I also still watch a lot of stuff in the Druidic community to get inspired, a lot of things about the Wheel of the Year, a lot of things that are Celtic spirituality. I'm so inspired. I learn a lot of things still again for the first time with the Greenwood Tarot and all the things that Cheska Potter wrote. And it's just a rediscovery, opening the mind, opening the space. So, and I'll probably revisit Doreen Virtue's courses from time to time. I wish her well. I really, really do. But I think now is a time where all of us have to kind of look within. And I think that's a good energy to have right now. This is a time where we're going to have to really look at our own discernment and be our own hero, our own guru. Take in everything, experience everything. Don't just take everything for face value. And other teachers are going to come in for you. Other teachers will be there. My nose is just, I'm sorry. Just to be open with that. And once you move past the grief, which is a natural process, and allow yourself to just stay open again, surrender to the grief, experience it, things will come in again. things will be renewed. It's almost like we have to move through these processes to realize what our true nature and our true power is as people. And um, I always like this notion of like, find where you're just a little bit annoyed and figure out what's going on there. Like John Edward, if you're familiar with John Edward, he's this psychic who had a TV show of crossing over. The first time I saw his book in Barnes and Noble, he was like, crossing over, a psychic does this, and the first time I was like, oh, it kind of like hit me hard. I was like really intuitive myself, but I thought that a lot of folks were just like selling out, being like psychics, and it really annoyed me, and I kept being bothered by it. But then I thought to myself, Scott, if you're really bothered by this, you need to pick up that book and read it. And I picked up his book and I read it and I bought it and I loved it. And I've started like thinking of that about other things and people I meet. If I have an emotional reaction that seems a little visceral at first, I'm like, oh, they kind of rub me wrong. I kind of stick with it and think about what is in me that's having that happen. What am I seeing, and am I projecting myself onto them? Is there something that I don't like about myself that I'm projecting onto this person? Maybe it's unfair. So I just stick with it a little bit more. I've had people, I go to like science fiction conventions, and it's all sorts of personalities and all sorts of interesting people at science fiction conventions. I encourage you to go. Please go. It's awesome. People have very interesting personalities, all walks of life. It's incredible. And very inevitably, you're going to find somebody there that just bucks the norm, and you might not enjoy what they have to say, or you might go to a panel or something, and you're like, ugh, they just took over that whole panel and didn't let the other people talk. I can't stand that person. Well, think about it for a second. Practice forgiveness in the moment. Practice radical forgiveness. And, then there were some people like that I did. Then I felt that way. Then I friended them on Facebook. And then I decided, wow, no, we don't agree on everything, but we can have a lot of fun on Facebook, and we can get along, and we can learn from each other, and there can be some humor. I never knew that they had a really great sense of humor. So it's so take these things for what they are. Maybe Doreen Virtue has disappointed you in some way right now. Maybe you don't want to watch her videos anymore. Maybe watch on occasion. I watch on occasion. I really got into a lot of her daily readings and things like that because they were inspiring to me. She doesn't do that so much. When it comes to like Christian beliefs, for me, I would rather just pick up my own Bible and read it myself, or go to my parents' church and listen to the pastor there, and develop the relationship like that. I don't feel like I don't need Doreen to like send me off in another direction. I really like what I'm doing, and I don't need to like expound on what I'm doing to everybody else. But yeah, just use your own discernment. But maybe you'll watch her again. Maybe something will inspire you again. But realize that that's part of you. That's a reflection of what's in your heart, a reflection of what you might need to hear. And the universe will send us incredible teachers out of nowhere. You never know when the teaching moment's going to happen with you, even if it comes from something radically different for you. It could change your whole life. It doesn't mean you're going to be converted to some sort of interesting new spirituality, but something within that tension, if you can focus on it and allow that tension to be there for a little while, it can radically change how you feel. And maybe there'll be a lesson in there that's going to change and get you past a fear or past an anxiety. So I have another topic that's related to that through another person that I follow on YouTube. Her name is Gigi Young. I've mentioned her before, but she talks about a lot of things too that, I thought, oh my goodness, she's out there. She's talking to aliens and ET beings. And for a while I was just, whoa, that's a lot. This is another video. I'll talk about it later. But I actually I got the best message about getting over a relationship from her, which got me warmed up to some of the other things that she was talking about. And so I just explored some things. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I kind of don't have the fear anymore. And I feel like that's probably good. We should find people to teach us things that we're a little uncomfortable with. We have a little bit of discomfort or a little bit of fear or a little bit of, ooh, I don't know about that. That's a sign that we should open our ears a little bit more to discern, not from a place of fear or a place of societal kind of, I'm going to shut myself down right now. So I think we have a little bit of that happening. Politics, oh my gosh. Um, you know, we will shut down right away when we hear certain words, certain phrases, one side or the other, left or right or whatever. Um, you know, listen a little bit closer, find out what's really happening in you. But you never know. You never know when like a teacher's going to come up and you're going to find that there's really interesting things to learn. Doreen Virtue, I wish her well. I'm not going to watch her a lot very much anymore, but I will watch her sometimes. I'm going to use her decks that I love, and I hope that, if you really enjoyed the courses you took with her or the decks of hers that you love, yeah, keep them. Work with them. Um, you know, they are all reflections of you. And just like songs that we hear and we have a connection, this is your emotional connection, and there's a reflection of you in that. And you are connecting with some sort of authentic part of you. Don't shut that part off just because the messenger fell short of what you thought that they might be. They're their own person. They're going to disappoint you or impress you or whatever, but really, they're fallible just like you and me. So, yeah, that was kind of long, 27 minutes of that. So, I'll try to do a little briefer video on that, and I'll do some readings next time too. But I wanted to talk about Doreen Virtue. Please leave some good comments. If you make a nasty comment about Doreen, I'll probably delete it. I just don't want to, I'm not in the drama anymore, but I do want to acknowledge that. It's all about you and just your heart, your discernment. Honor the paths that other people are on. Whether you're Christian or pagan or Jewish, anything in between, honor people's paths. And we're all humans having this experience. That should be enough for many of us. And everything else gets kind of sorted out in the cosmos, doesn't it? Hopefully. I like it that way. So, all right. Have a very good night. I will talk to you soon. I love you all. Namaste.